Hello, everyone. Long time no see. I mean, yeah, it's been an hour actually. Uh, Time goes on so fast. So, I'm back, and I'm back with the part two of MLH Events API session. So, let me just reduce the music a bit, and yeah, we'll continue building our MLH unofficial events API. What have we done till now? We have learned how to scrape one page at least, and we have been able to find event name, event date, event start date, and yeah, a bunch of other things actually, frankly, from the official MLH events page. Okay. And now we are going to continue and we are going to do two things here. Thing one, one part of this second part of this session is going to be basically changing. Uh, Sorry, ignore that. Yeah, the second part of the session is basically going to be focusing on generating a CSV, or not generating, more like taking this data, putting it into a CSV file, and we'll also modify the code a bit to be more modular. So, right now I'm kind of like in the last session we saw that I'm kind of hard coding the year here. Okay, so it's 2021 hard coded in a way, but what if I want to, give it multiple years? What do we do? How, like, loop over multiple years, create a CSV file for multiple years, and all those things. That's what we are going to look at. I'll give a minute here, let people join, and then we will continue. Meanwhile, there's some music. Okay, I think that was enough music. Uh, okay, so let's get on. Now, what am I going to do? I am actually going to first try and build the MLH, what do you call, CSV events CSV, and then we are going to modify the code because I think this is what I saw on LinkedIn actually. So not my original quote, but someone had said that to first understand the solution, like could be anything. It could be a tool. It could be modular code. You have to first understand the problem, and then you will have greater appreciation for the solution. So that's the path that we are going to take. We are first going to understand the problem, see how painful it is, and then we are going to do the solution of writing some modular code. So, CSV. Now, this is one other thing that I really like about Python libraries. They are named so conveniently that you don't even have to give it a thought as such. What is this supposed to do? Example, in this case, I'm going to import CSV. Okay, import CSV is going to import or download the library of CSV, and we are going to use this library to write some code, like use this library to and write some code to actually take the data and put it in CSV file. Yeah. And that was a difficult sentence to form. Okay, but jokes apart, so how are we going to do that? Well, it's going to be pretty simple once again. Number one is the way we have defined URL, we can define a CSV underscore file underscore name, let's say, and you can give it any name you want. I'm going to give it MLH underscore events underscore 2021 dot CSV. Okay, this is the name of the file that I'm going to give it. CSV file name. Uh, Also, let me remove some redundant print statements here right now so that the code looks much succinct and cleaner. So CSV file name, this is where I define what should the file be called once it gets created. Now I'm going to write some bad code right now, so just ignore. That's the only request. The bad code starts here, line number 13. So with open and open a CSV file name that we have given it. Okay, so open the CSV file name in the write mode. Okay, and it should, like, create a new line. What is new line? It is going to give it like every new line what it should be. And there are also these options. So R means reading, W is writing, X is creating and writing to a new file always. But yeah, that's there. You can find more definitions definitely here. So new line should be like empty. It should start directly without any spaces around, and we'll give it a temporary variable. Let's call it temp log. As I said, this is going to be some bad code, so ignore it. Now, open CSV file name, like open MLH events underscore 2021.csv in write mode and give it a variable name of temp log. Now, the best part of this code is, uh, well, it is bad, number one. Second part is it's going to be very temporary. So we are going to delete it later, but just to understand what it, like if it works, how it works, and all those things. So now I'm going to give it CSV writer, create another variable CSV underscore writer, which is nothing but CSV dot writer. As you can see, there's a definition like CSV dot writer. It takes a CSV file and something called as dialect and FMT params. So dialect can be Excel example. Okay. And yeah, so for us, we are not too much into that part. So we just want temp log. Okay, CSV dot writer temp log. And now this is more or less like standard way of writing. Okay, it's, you can say it's more of a syntax. Yeah. So now CSV writer dot write row. This is what tells it to write a row in the file. So just imagine a Excel file. Here on this particular line, what we are telling it is, please create the header row. And what should be the headers? It should be, let's say, event name, and also give me the what else can we put it? And each of them is individual. Okay, so event name is one individual string in a list, and the second, let's say we can take event link. Okay, so right now, as I said, this is more of a temporary thing just to understand how CSV is working, if it's working, and yeah, write some bad code and understand the problem and then find the solution to it. So what have we done? We have imported CSV, we have given a CSV file name variable where we have hard coded, oh, it should be MLH events 2021. And then from line number 13, we opened a CSV file. And if you like look on your left, there's no CSV file of that name, which basically means that if that file does not exist, it will create it. And this particular line is what is going to create the header of CSV, or more like the top row in Excel. Like, I find that people understand Excel faster than CSV idea. So the top header row of the Excel uh, is going to be created on this particular line, on line number 13. Oh, there was a question about it. Sorry, I missed it. Yes, it is the CSV header. So once we have added the right row, and now let's write into this CSV file the data. So inside of for loop, okay. So inside of for loop, now we'll again do a with open. Uh, Please open what? We have a file name, which is called a CSV file name. Woohoo. And now we open it in a append mode. Okay, we don't want to rewrite. We want to append to that file. So as temp log. Okay. And here we do a csv dot writer. In csv dot writer, we have opened this file already, and it is stored in a temporary variable. And inside, so actually it is like we are kind of copy pasting this part of code. Okay, so I am going to exactly do that, csv writer dot this. But now here, this is where the things will change. So on the top, we gave the names of the headers, okay, the header row. But here we want to put the values in, and the values will map one to one. So if the header is event name, you should, okay, the user or the developer should give the variable which is event name here. Okay, what will happen, like no surprises there, but what will happen if you don't, if you give like event link first and then event name second, well, it's going to print it vice versa. Okay, it's not that smart, at least right now. So this is what we are doing. So CSV writer is equal to CSV dot writer temp log, and then write row and add event name and event link. So this is what we have written. So CSV code, I will actually CSV bad code, code, CSV bad code, and there's again, this is here as well, CSV bad code, just for the people who are watching it, and they to for them to understand from where they have to, what all they have to write. So import CSV, but I mean it's not that bad. It's just like not a very ideal way of writing it. Import CSV file name, and then we opened, like, not if just open, we kind of created the file if it does not exist, and we write to it, and then we are opening it again here, and we are appending to that with the variables. There is Tintin, Tintin 1992. Yes, I will share the Replit link later. And we are building basically MLH Events API, unofficial, using Python. There's a question, when writing in a pickle file, we use RB or WB. Why is that? Uh, okay, that is a good question. But sorry, I don't exactly know the answer. I'll have to Google it. Let's do it together. Read binary and write binary. So pickle file is assuming binary files, and I think that is why you need to add the beam parameter. Okay, so with this, now let's run this. Like, actually, I between the session I had tried this code just to check if it works, and that is why it has already installed the CSV for me. But if you run this for the first time, it will first show poetry, install CSV, update, and that's it. Okay, so it has created MLH events file, and there we have the CSV data. Okay, event name, event link, and 228. So if you remove the first header, 227 uh, events have been captured and written to this. Like they, so which makes a fair assumption. 227 events happened in 2021. Okay, that's great amount of event considering they're like 365 days and every day you had at least one. And then there are some breaks, of course. So yeah, this is the way we have written to it, and we have been able to. I'll leave this here for people who have just joined and want to have a quick look. The first line is import CSV. Uh, Everywhere you find this comment, that is what you have to, like, below it, above it, on the side. Please write that code if you want to see how it writes to a CSV file. It creates a CSV file, it adds to it. Now, the reason I've been calling it bad code, uh, uh, is because not modular enough. Definitely, that's the first problem. Like, I want to make it modular in a way that, okay, can I zoom in a bit? Yep, here it is. I think that's more zooming is going to just blow it. Yeah. So I'm not sorry, the reason why I call it bad code is it's not modular enough. I want to replace this URL. Okay, instead of hard coding it to 2021, I want to kind of loop over number of, like, multiple years and create the CSV files. So that's the first thing that I want to do, which also means that for the CSV file name, even that should be created based on the year. So like 2021 CSV file, 2022, 3, 4. You get the idea. Second thing is, we open the CSV file here. Okay, that is good. We loop over our data and we write to CSV file here, which is again good. But we can make it better. What if I want to kind of reuse this? Okay, since I want to loop over multiple years and I want to create multiple CSV files, so we can actually take this out into a separate function, into a separate file. Okay, and there we can do the looping and everything. So that's the second part of this, of let's start dividing our code into smaller chunks, into smaller files, see that it works properly, and then we can move on to the APIs part. Okay, so let's start dividing the code. Let's start breaking the code. Now, for breaking it, okay, I'm not going to rewrite it completely for sure, because you might have understood from session one, I'm lazy. But the way I'm going to divide it with some understanding of what is happening, like this is how you would normally divide it. Let me first delete this events file that was created. Okay, there is an error. I got an error. File main.py line 31 here. Main.csv underscore writer dot write row IO operation on closed file. So on closed file, that means it has not opened. So hopefully this was not missed. Second thing, it was inside the for loop. Okay, so like, this is one thing that I don't like about Python is the indentation problems. Sometimes if you like, I'm assuming if you like put it here, okay, then it will only do it once and that will kind of close the file, I feel. So just check the indentation part. Let me also try and put this in the chat. So yep, the code is in the chat. Please pick it from there, like to compare, like you have not made any mistakes. But also check the indentation definitely. And on the top, it was open with a W, and this was open with append A. So maybe that's also one thing to look at. Okay, so let's start breaking the code. I'll keep an eye on chat if you have any other questions, definitely. uh, okay, the step one, what should be what should we create? The first file that we should create, we can call it as scrape events. So scrape events.py. Now this file is, I forgot the .py. Please don't. Scrape events.py. Okay. So scrape events dot scrape underscore events.py. This is a file that I've created, and as the name is very obvious, this is where we will write the code which which does the scraping part. Okay. So for the scraping part, we have actually kind of written it here. So I'm going to copy paste line by line, but I'm also going to make certain changes. Okay, so please follow along very carefully. Or more like, let me wait for like 2 minutes, and everyone reaches this stage where you are perfectly in sync, and we will move from there. So let me take a pause here, and meanwhile some music, definitely. And yeah, please reach this stage, then we will start taking bits and pieces of code and putting it in scrape underscore events.py. Okay? The reason is just want everyone to be on the same page. If something was not working previously, that's fine. Leave it for now, because we are again going to run it anyways. Oh, meanwhile, I do have one interesting observation. Uh, Seems like the ML track has been doing really well. And frankly, when I attended this session, the one where he was, I think it was part three, where he was talking about the random forest thing. So, yeah, I really liked his way of teaching. It was a really good stream, definitely. And I also saw the enthusiasm people have for the machine learning track. So pretty amazing, commendable work by him. I'm pretty amazed by the things, the way people are receiving it. That's really cool, really cool. Uh, but in a way, now you know how to scrape data. Then you can watch Will's session to learn and understand how you can apply machine learning to it. So I think that's really cool. Okay, perfect. I think that's enough time for everyone to reach this point. Uh, let's move ahead. Now, things might get a bit tricky, so follow along exactly, and like, very humble request. That's all I can say. So step one, main.py. From main.py, I am going to copy this line. Now, whatever I'm going to copy, I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to do a control C or command C. So yeah, I'm not going to show that part, definitely. But yes, this is. So first step is to import this from request HTML, import session. Now whatever I'm going to import, I'm also going to delete it for now, so that we know it has been done. The next step is, now code is going to break, so don't try to run it, of course. uh, yeah. Now the next step, now since we have created a separate file from this, I want to create a function out of it. Okay, a modular function. Now it's my philosophy, and on like completely rests with me at this point right now, at least in terms of Python, that whatever is the file name, create the function name, like create the same function name. So def underscore scrape events, we will pass it a year. So this is where the second bit comes in. We want to run this function. We will call this function, we'll give it a year value like 2021 or 22 or 23, 24, 25, 26, 2030, whatever. And when we call this function with a particular year, it should run the code inside it. So def is where we define, or it's a function declaration. The name of the function is scrape events, which is the same as the name of our file. We are going to give it a variable here, which is what is going to be given to the code below it. That's, so that's one extra line that I've added. And once you add that, and you have to add a colon, okay, then you hit enter, it will automatically be indented. There would be some space, definitely. So please follow that step. So that's done. Now let's copy over this URL, and let's come here and paste it right here. Okay, so URL is going to be this. I'm going to go there and remove it. Okay, now here, if you remember, f strings. Okay, so we know that if we put a f, capital or small, both of them work, and then we want to replace something with a variable, we can do a curly brackets around it and give the variable name. So this year that we have selected is passed here, okay, in this URL. And with just that, the URL has now become very dynamic. Okay, it has become very dynamic. uh that didn't work. Tried this instead. Opens. Okay, let me just quickly highlight that. So open CSV file name with W. So we have that new line as temp log. uh, so that's this part, and there's the event row, and CSV underscore writer event data. What is event data? I mean, I didn't have it. I'm assuming you have event data somewhere. Oh, so you are storing it in a list and then you are adding it here. Yep, that's also a way, definitely. uh I'll borrow that actually. Okay, let's start our code. And okay, so back to our code, but I'm glad it works. uh Love the way you debug that, definitely. I'm just curious, maybe in some later time I'll go back to it and think why would it not work. Or if you want, you could share your ripple on Discord. Yeah, on Discord, as far as I remember, there is a GHW, ask GHW, I think. uh I mean, you could put it there, create a new topic. I think it's called topic of MLH Events API, and just put the link there. I'll have a look to understand like why was it not working, because ideally it should, frankly. But even the append function, that's also great. Okay, so coming back, so we have created scrape underscore events. We imported this. We defined a function which was not there previously. We have added the URL, and we have replaced the year 2021 with a variable, so that it becomes more dynamic. We can pass that value there. Okay. What's the next step that we are going to do now? The next step is we have not created a session. So let's go over here and just control exit and put it here. uh, Made a mistake. Yep, that goes in. So it comes right below this part. Okay, in the same indentation. That's very important. It comes inside the function. So we have copied that. So let me, oh, I've already, yeah, cut it. And from here we can cut this part where we do the response is equal to session dot get URL. We can also do like more options. We can do like more things, but I don't want to make it that dynamic. So I'm going to call event wrapper list equals to response.html.find event wrapper. Okay, so we got that. And now I'm going to kind of follow what bug breaker 18 did, events data array. So let's say events underscore data empty list. Yeah. Oh, and before this, or more like let's say after. Uh, okay, now we have this. So we have created a list or an array, you can say. Now inside this, now we will loop. Ah, man, two times. If you hit enter two times, it becomes weird. Okay, now what are we going to do? This for event. So I'm going to copy it from line 16 to line 28, like right before we actually wrote to the file, to the CSV file. So I'm going to cut that part, come over to scrape events.py and paste it here. Gets kind of messed up. So I'm going to just press tab, select everything and press tab. If you want to go behind, you do a shift tab. If you want to go ahead, you just press tab. And yeah, what is the problem of this? Oh, the variable is not being used. You're creating a variable, but you're not using it. That's the problem that this is highlighting. That's a warning that it is highlighting. Now here I can just do a append. So events underscore data, which is the list, the empty list we created. Inside that we can do a append. And in the append, now I'm going to append it in this manner. I'm going to do a key value pair. Okay, that's very simple to understand. Key value pair. So event name will take event name. Okay. Event date. Yeah, that was the next thing. Event date will take event date. So I'm going to go through it, like append it to the events data array or list, sorry, events data list as a object or a dictionary, you can say, which is key and value pair. Okay, key value pair. Next thing is start, not state, start date. That should be uh start event start date. Oh, sorry, event start date. Then similarly, again, I'm sorry it's going to be repetitive, but people who not event end date equals to not equals to colon event end date. So if you're able to do it faster without me going over every word of it, please do. Location event location. Okay, so location event location. Hybrid notes is going to be, of course, event hybrid notes. And the final one is event link. Or I can call it actually just link or event link. Okay. So event link is going to be event link. I think that should be good. Perfect. And from like at the end of this function, okay, when someone calls this function, ideally it should either print something to the console or it should return something. So I want it to return this final thing, which is like outside of this for loop. So I'm going to press enter once. I don't know, is this very faint line visible? So this is here. Okay, this like two tab spaces, and I put enter, I put a backspace or delete in Mac. So I come one step behind, and here I am going to return events data. Okay, and there is this very nice format button. I'm going to press that, which will format the whole code for me. Okay, it will the whole file for me, sorry. So now this is more of like This is better looking. Okay, you can think of it as better looking code and better readable code. uh I am missing comments. I should put it, but I will put it later, so don't worry. But later, once I push it to GitHub, there will be some comments with it. So from request HTML, import HTML session, we have created a function and we are returning it here. Perfect. I think that looks good enough right now. So how do we test this? Multiple ways to test it. I'm going to do it the way I was hoping to. Let's go to main.py and let's delete everything that is left there because we'll create it later. So in main.py, once you have reached main.py, step one is to import our uh, function that we created. So actually, we can do it this way: from scrape underscore events, which is the file name, import scrape events. Okay, so from scrape underscore events, which is the file name, import the function scrape events. This looks very similar to from request dot underscore html, import html session. Okay, kind of on a similar note. So once we have imported it, what do we do? Well, very simply, we can write a main function. So let's create a new main function. Yeah, def main. And here, what are we going to do? We are going to say like years. Let's create a constant kind of years, and we will pass it 2021 and 2022 as like these two things. Uh, Yep. So two things, years 2021 and 2022. That's what I'm going to pass it. And then what are we going to do? Now we are going to say like for year, each basically kind of each year in years. Okay? So for each year in years, events underscore data. Like this is a local variable. Okay. It is nowhere like let's call it new events, new underscore events underscore data equals to scrape events past the year. Okay. So new events data is a local variable that we have created, and we are telling it like please call this function scrape events and give it a year which comes from looping over the years array. So in the array, we have right now passed just two things, 2021 and 2022. And once you have done this, what you're going to do, please print, okay, print the new underscore events underscore data. I'm also going to uh, add a backslash n here, and I'm also going to give it a name, new events data colon. Yeah, I think that should be good enough. So now we have created a main function where step one, we have given it years as a array or a list. I'm so sorry I keep calling it array because that's what I'm used to in JavaScript normally. But yeah, we have given it a list 2020 with values 2021, 2022, and now we are looping over those years and calling our function for each of the year that goes in. And now let's run this. So to run it, if in standard syntax, if name equals to double equals to underscore underscore main, if name equals to main, call the main function. Okay, that's what I have told it to do. I'm going to format it so it looks nice. There's more spacing. And now let's see if this works. Fingers crossed. So I have run it. Yep, it worked for the first one, definitely. It worked for the second one, definitely. Nice. So as you can see, this is very big, but there is this backslash n that I had put. So that's why the space in between, and then new events data again. Now this was too big for the console. That is why the top part has been kind of truncated. Yeah, good words. uh, but yeah, the top part is truncated, but you can see the data for the second year definitely here. So we were successfully able to create a function out of our, yes, it works. I am so glad someone followed this sentiment. Yes, it works. That is the best part of streaming. It just gives so much happiness that when it works. So yep, we created a function, we looped over data, and we, yeah, looped over here, called the main function, ran it, and it works. It works. Perfect. So with that in mind, now we can do 2021 and 2022. You can pass 2023, 2024, so on and so forth. But there's a big if condition here. What is that? If you remember, someone initially had some issues where, if you ping the website very fast, very quickly, it is bound to like hit back and reject you, forbidden request. That is possible. So what you should do ideally, you should just wait. Okay, just wait between the session. That is one way to put it. Wait between the session. uh, when I say between the session, which sessions do I mean? I mean, uh, between getting the request for 2021 and 2022, and then 3 and then 4, just wait. Okay, sleep. That is one way to define it. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to wait between the request. We are going to wait between the two sessions that are created. uh okay, so import, as very intuitive, import time. So in the time, now I'm going to create a few variables. So let's say sleep underscore time equals to 10 seconds. So please wait for 10 seconds before you create the second session, is what my idea is here. I'm also going to do some cleanup here, or like add some spaces on top and bottom, not cleanup. uh this is there, this is there, okay, this is there, and then everything else is coming, and here we have the return. And now where do I put my sleep time? Well, just before the final return. So I'm going to put it like in the same line as this. What was this? This was for loop. Okay, so inside the for loop, I'm going to put it inside the for loop, because then and only then it is going to wait between the uh, the session requests. Yeah. So time dot sleep, and you can give it anything. I'm going to give it sleep time, which is the variable that we created, and it takes in seconds. Okay, so it's not 10 milliseconds, it's 10 seconds. It's going to wait for 10 seconds before it fires off the second, like okay, that's a tongue twister. It's going to wait for 10 seconds before it fires off the second for loop, and fires off the second session. Okay, fires off the second session. Yeah. And again, comparison with JavaScript, I think JavaScript takes it in milliseconds. So yeah, just remember that if you're doing it in JavaScript. Format again, and yep, everything looks good. Let's go here, and what am I going to do? I'm going to do it for 2023 and 2024 this time. And I hope you remember, I'm going to print not new events data, but let's print uh backslash n are there. Let's also print some like dashes. And sorry, this, some dashes again. Uh, you don't have to really copy it. This is just to show. So now we are going to basically wait 10 seconds between the request. So that prints, and it is going to basically go over and then uh, yeah, run the loop. So it has, even if it has ran the loop, we are not printing the events data until later, which is why I think it is going to wait. So let's wait 10 seconds, 20 seconds of music more like. I think 10 was too long, but yeah, please bear with me. But it's also possible that my code is wrong. I hope not. Hmm. Do you think even I got forbidden? Let's also print the response here. Then I'm gonna say, don't think so. So we have sleep time and sleep time, 10 seconds. Yeah, I think it should work ideally. And I try stopping it, and then I try running it. Let's see. So response 200, I received response 200, which means the session has been established for sure. What am I doing wrong? So we got the new events data that goes in here, and I also print it after this. Print done run. Like done. And let me reduce the speed time to 1 second actually. Okay. Okay, it's done and it's done and it's done. 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 Wait, what years did I get it? 23 and 24, right? Hmm. Something hangs. I'm not sure what, but something does hang. Either it is that my sleep is at the wrong place, which I don't think it should be. Hmm. Interesting. I'm going to actually stop this and just reload this whole thing once. Clear this console. So sleep time of 1, you get the session, you print the response, then you go over, and I have given it like 2020. Let's say 1. Let's just loop over 1 first, and let's see if that works. Why is it printing done every time? It should only print it for once this time dot sleep has completed. So what am I missing here? Oh, think so. I found it. Uh, wait, let's take it outside here. Take this outside here, and now let's try it. Main.py. Let's run this. Okay, response 200 and done once, twice. Interesting. What is happening and why is it happening? Now I'm also outside of the for loop and I only have 1 year. It is doing it for every event that it gets, but that shouldn't happen. Ideally, it shouldn't happen. It worked for you. Wow. I don't know. Then it has something to do with my REPL, probably then. Okay. That's the case. I'm going to interrupt it. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to do a hard refresh. Yes, please reload the site. I'm also, yes, it does cache something. Reload it again. Maybe empty cache and hard reload. Yeah, I'm going to do a multitude of things before I actually, also, I'm actually going to shut this. Seems like something got cached, because of which, yeah, it's not exactly working for me. So I am going to shut it, open it again, and let's try it again. Hopefully this time it will work. I'm also going to add some more strings here in front of done, so that, yeah, I'm, don't understand this right now. And I'm so confused with why it's working the way it's working. You kept the time and print outside of for loop, but that's what I've done actually. This is outside of for loop, right? This is my for loop. Oh, it's still, oh, because it has the old code. I had changed it. If you remember, if you like literally go back into the session, I had changed that and it was outside of the loop. I don't know why it went back inside. Yes, finally. And that was some awful debugging. Uh, yep. Okay, so I don't think Replit was updated. Yes, woohoo! I don't think Replit was updated, which is why it kept that old code. So yeah, we want it outside of the for loop. Otherwise, initially you will end up with the situation that I had of, even though it has the data, it was printing it with a sleep of 1 second in between. So my bad there. We want it outside of the for loop. Once the loop has ended, like if I just minimize it, so it's in the same line as where the for loop starts. Okay, like where the for loop is defined. So we, once the loop has kind of ended, then we want it to go to sleep, so that for the next round in a way. It has taken that much of time. So now instead of 10, I'm going to keep it as like 5 seconds and say that it works. Formatting it and formatting this one and run this. So now it will wait for 5 seconds before it yeah, fires off the next response request. So that's done, and then 5 seconds, if you all want you can count it, and that's done. Perfect. Okay, so with that issue out of our mind, and now that we know that it is able to successfully go over any swag drop, no, sorry, yeah, successfully go over the website and scrape the events and get it back. Now it's time to actually write it in a CSV file. Uh, yeah. I should ask Mary later, like, how do you do swag drops? I would love to do one, maybe sometime in near future. Also, let me just remove the loads of print statements. So that's the best way to debug, right? Uh, Loads of print statements here and there. Okay, doke. So that's done. We have this. Now comes the next bit, which is adding it to a CSV file, and we have to make the CSV file modular as well. So, CSV file. Where do we write to the CSV? Where do we add to the CSV? How do we add to the CSV? That's the question. Let's create a new file. Let's call it write to csv.py. Py. Write to csv.py. No surprises there. Import csv. Okay, now let's create a function def write to csv. And what should it take? It should take events underscore data. Okay, of course it should take events underscore data. It should also take csv underscore file underscore name. Okay, so from the user or from wherever the code is going to be, it should take the events data, or you can call it data, and the file name. Okay, now yeah, once it has that, let's do the second part, which is with open uh, the csv file name, of course. So csv underscore file underscore name. In what mode? I'm going to open it in a write mode, and then new line equals to empty as temp log. Okay, so we are going to open it, and we're going to do similar stuff that we had done in the bad code, but in a modular way right now. So csv underscore writer equals to csv dot writer. Yep, csv dot writer temp log. And now we are also going to create the row here. To make it more modular, you could also ask the user the names of the rows. So if you want to reuse this write to CSV function somewhere where the row names are going to be different, make it more modular, definitely. So yeah, what are the rows going to be? Now the rows, I am going to add event name. We'll have event date. We'll have start date. We'll have end date. We'll have what else? Location. We'll have hybrid nodes. It's what's called as hybrid nodes. So hybrid nodes, and then find event link. Okay, so these are the row header rows going to be. So I'm going to just format it quickly looks nice and clean. So these are uh, yeah, this is what it is going to be. Now inside this, I'm going to write a for loop for event in uh, events data. Yeah, for event in events data, csv underscore writer dot write row, and what are the rows going to be? So if you remember, we have got events data which we are looping over. So that is being stored in a separate variable event. So in the event, from the event variable, I specifically want, like, the way you do indexing, like if you have an array or let's say a list, and then you want the value of, let's make this, okay, let's say you have a comma b comma c, okay, as uh, array, yes, or a list. If you want the value of the second one, so you could do, like, let's say this list is called as um, ml my list. So you could do a ml of, let's say, uh, like I think dot zero works. I'm not sure how it works in Python, but you could do ml of, let's say, zeroth index, yeah, square bracket zeroth index. That should give you a, okay, in return, like, yeah, the zeroth index, it should return that. And if you change this to, in a way, an object where a is going to be 1 and b is going to be 2 and c is going to be 3, then ml of, let's say, if you do a b, so a key will return you the value, okay, it will return you 2. So with that ideology, if you remember, my events data was actually a dictionary, not object. Oh, yeah, it's called as dictionary in Python. It's called object in JavaScript. So if it's a dictionary, so I want to get the specific key. Okay, I want to take the specific key. So event of, let's say, event name. Okay, that's where we are going to write the value. So event of event name and event, like, we are not writing the value yet, okay, just so that you understand. We are going to specifically pick that key and we are going to write the value uh, in the main file, from the main file. Once we have received the new events data, we are going to pass that new events data to write to CSV. And since it is going to be a dictionary of which looks in this manner, we are making our code modular enough to pick, okay, like, pick the event name key and replace that with the value. So that's what we are doing here. So yeah, it's going to be a repetitive again. So event of event name, event of event date, event of start date, event of end date, and what else? We have event of location, and then what else we have? We have event of hybrid nodes. Sorry, I keep looking on the side to check if there are any comments, any questions, more like hybrid nodes. And we have event of, say, event link. Okay, so that's how we have made our code more modular to write. Should it return anything? No, I don't think so, because we have done a write function. And when we have done the write function here, it will automatically create the files. And when it creates the file, once it's done creating the files, then that's it. It shouldn't return me anything yet, or not required, more like, at least right now. So let's go back to our main.py. And in main.py, now what is going to change? Well, now we are going to add the next bit. The next bit is going to be, yeah, we are first going to import it. So from write to CSV, import write to CSV. Yeah, that's give the names so obvious that you don't have to you don't forget about it. So now that we have events, new events data, and that has scraped off all the events, let's give it new CSV file name, and that should be equal to f string. Okay, now we are going to use f strings again, and this time we'll say MLH underscore events underscore year. Okay, dot CSV. Yeah, this should be fine. And then we are going to call the write to CSV function that we have written, and that will take the new events data. Okay, the new events data, we are going to pass that. We are also going to call pass the new CSV file name. And let me let's format it. Let's format it, and I hope this works. So I'm going to run this. We have 2 years, 23 and 24. So if I run this, oh, someone said that it worked. Oh, wow. You're way ahead of me. I think your replit is working better than mine for sure. Oh, it worked for me at least. Looks like it. So it created the 2023 CSV and it created the 2024 CSV. Perfect. I think we can return a string here at the end of all this. Uh, Oops, did I go outside of function? Yeah. If you want, we can create return a string saying success. It should be outside. I think here would be apt. So if I delete this quickly, oh, I did not check if it has, yep, it has data. Okay, nice. Let me delete this again. Yes, delete the file. Uh, okay, let's run it again. Let's see if it returns success. Not sure whether it will or it won't. Okay, it's done, but it did not return success. Should it print success? Even if it returns success, yeah, I'm not printing anything. My bad. Yeah, even if it returns success, I'm not printing it or using that here, which is why, yeah, we did not see it. Uh, so delete, yes, please delete. Delete, yes, please delete. Uh, I'll tell you later why am I deleting it. Now let's see if this works. So now ideally, if I have called the function with open for events and events data, yes, success. Yep. I should have printed it instead of returning it. Or, yep, perfect. So write to CSV success. Okay, now if you see here, we have event name, event data, and all those things that were supposed to be there. Uh, and now if I run the function again, what should ideally happen? Okay, should it recreate it? Should it append below this, or what should happen? So write to CSV success 1 is done. When the second one is done, we'll see. Okay, write to CSV success is done. So yeah, right now, as you can see, we have 2023 and 2024, and there is data 270, 271, GHW launch week, worldwide digital Global Hack Week season launch. Wow, that's what we are in right now. And then there's this again. So, question for everyone out here: what do you think is happening? Like, is it recreating the whole file even though it exists? Is it adding to it? Okay, I already have an answer before I had the question. Yes, it is recreating the file even if it exists, which I think, at least logically from my perspective, I think that is right, because uh, we are running the function again. So if the data already exists, it would first have to check through the data to understand, oh, this data exists, then append any new data. But I don't want to do all that hard work. I only want it to write to the file. Okay, so yeah, with that, I think this is again the perfect time to take a break. Okay, so get up, get out there, stretch, have some water, and be back. Uh, we have successfully added CSV. We have kind of made our code modular. We'll come back to it. We'll add more things to it. So, but after the break, okay? So I'm going to stop talking right now. Here's some music for all of you. And let's see you again in 10 minutes. Hello everyone, I'm back. How's it going? Let me reduce the volume a bit. Oh, lots of stickers. I like good stickers, definitely. Thank you so much for that. For sharing that. I did not know they existed, frankly. Uh okie doke. We still have time. So if you're still in the middle of drinking some water, please have it. Please. No worries. But meanwhile, uh to talk about a bunch of stuff, let me just take this out. Okay, so to talk about a bunch of stuff, we have been able to successfully write to CSV. Now, this is not a bespoke piece of code as such. I mean, definitely there are ways to improve this. Okay, what could be the ways? Step one, you could, just give it the names of the headers as input to the function. And for this part, like, you just have to ensure that it is always going to be in a dictionary, and in this part you can kind of loop over those headers to particularly select, yeah, particularly select pieces from that. Okay, so yeah, that is, and this function then becomes so reusable that you could use it to write to CSV to any kind of any data, actually, as long as the events data is in a dictionary format. Sorry. Okay. Oh, that's a nice praise for me. Thank you so much. Thank you. Uh, okay, so coming back, so now we have reached to a point where we have written to CSV. Now, before we build the API part, I want to convert the CSV to JSON. Okay, now I don't want multiple JSONs, so I don't want a 2023 JSON, I don't want a 2024 JSON. I want a merged MLH events JSON. And there was a hint there. The name of the file is going to be merged mlh events.json. What is a JSON? I mean, I won't be able to go much into details. This was for me. Okay, so what is JSON format? So yeah, I think this would be a very good example for the starters. So a JSON format is, again, very much like a dictionary. Okay, key value pair. That's very simple, the simplest way to put it. Now, whenever we create a REST API, that's a new word here, a REST API. A REST API, what it is, it takes use of some verbs. Okay, verb. What are the verbs? Get, post, put, delete. I think there are more, definitely, but these are the four that I remember. Get, post, put, delete. Uh, these are the verbs in which form the structure of an API call. It is more of a agreed way. It's not a piece of code. It is definitely not a new. Definitely not related to a programming language. It is more of a agreed format. Okay, between multiple companies, like, database companies, server side companies, UI side companies. Like, everyone agreed that, okay, if we structure our request, our, you remember the HTTP request that we made where the response was 200, and we saw that, oh, there's a status code of 200. Okay, so how did that come about? Some, like, there were these people who came together in a room, and anywhere, maybe a resort, but they discussed, and they finalized that, okay, we are going to do this in this particular format. Anytime a request is successful, we are going to give it a status code of 200. Okay, that's the ideal way of doing it. You could give it 304 and okay, 304, 304. Okay, and that would work. Okay, no one is going to complain except for the people who are going to use your API. They'll be expecting, oh, when is 200 going to come, when is 200 going to come, and you keep sending 3 or 4. It's against the specification. So there is something called as a specification. uh, and I keep introducing new words, I should stop. But the specifications are defined in something called as a RFC. Okay, uh, full form is request for comment. And in an RFC, people, like, this is the agreed format of definition, that if this is happening, it should be named this only. Okay, that is a specification. Similarly, there are specification for the verbs, the get, post, put, delete, whatever, the API request. And that specification formed the REST API. And how did we reach REST API? Yes, from JSON. So in the REST API, again, the data that comes into the REST API, it can be anything. You can call a CSV file via REST API, and it would return a CSV file. But people found that it was annoying. Okay, they want to request for, let's say, specific data. I only want the data of a person whose first name is John and last name is Doe. Okay, I only want that data, I don't want the whole CSV file to be returned. So what should happen then? Again, people came and they were like, okay, you know what we'll do, we'll write some code for it to filter out the data. Okay, so that was agreed. So they wrote code to filter out the data and only return the row in the CSV where the first name is John and last name is Doe. But then again, there was this confusion. Hey, what's the header? What's the title of this? Like, what's the header row? Is it called first name or first underscore name or first dash name? They're like, okay, we'll return two things. Okay, calm down. We'll return first name and last name as the headers. We'll return the values under it. They're like, okay, now I want some more data. They're like, okay, what do you want? We want time to be returned. So like, okay, no problem. We'll have a time as the header. We'll return the data. But is it a string? Is it a time? What's the format? What's the data structure of it? And then they were like, okay, you know what? Let's go back to the board. Let's create an RFC for it. And that was kind of the beginning of a JSON format, because the front end at that time was all JavaScript. The back end was Java, .NET, .NET C Sharp, uh, pretty sure some more like Perl or anything. But everyone agreed to a particular format, that since the front ends are primarily JavaScript, we'll create a new data structure, kind of being the keyword here. Call it JSON, that is JavaScript object notation, where we'll return the data in a key value pair. So yeah, that was kind of an overview of what JSON is. Maybe you would not want it, you already knew it, but I think that's just helpful. So how did we reach this point? Let's go back, let's retrace our steps. We had created a CSV file, now we want to create a JSON file, which is why we reached to that point. Why a JSON? Like, why single JSON file? Why not multiple? Because ultimately the goal of our API, which we talked about what API uh, is to get me all the matching data. I don't want to loop over all the files to get the data. JavaScript or Python in general, both of them are fast enough to parse like a file, okay, which has like more than 10,000 lines of data. Maybe once it goes beyond that, things will start hitting uh, some lag, and then we can of course go over to something called as database. But not a topic for this session, definitely. Yeah, so the idea is we want to convert into a JSON, and the JSON we have already seen, it's something like key and the value. And we have actually done this. The JSON format looks very similar. It is actually this key value pair, the dictionary that we have created. The only difference is right now this dictionary is being used to write to CSV, and the CSV is creating one file at a time. So we are going to use very similar format to create the JSON where every data will be merged. I also realized, like really seriously, just right now, that I only have data for 2023 and 24. So I'm going to give it 21 and 22 as well. So that I have four CSV files created. And I'm going to run this. Okay, let that get created. Uh, Meanwhile, anyone wants to have a chat? Anything? How's it going? Okay, I'm joking. Uh, Okay, once that gets created and gets completed, then we'll move on to the next bit, which is write to the JSON format. Okay, I think, okay, no, two of them are done. Thank God we wrote that right to CSV success. We could also modify it. We could also give a year, like at least from the perspective of our code, we can give it a year, right to CSV success for whatever year number it is. But yeah, not really required. Uh, okay, so step one, create a new file. Write to JSON.py. I like how we have started creating modular code. Import JSON. Uh, Here it is. We are going to import this kind of library. And next step is to, of course, create a function. So write to JSON, where what are we going to give it? We are going to give it merged data, and we are also going to give it JSON file name. That should be enough, I feel. Yeah. Now, for again, of course, for loop for event in the merge data. So for each event in a way inside the merged data. Actually, why am I writing a for loop? Let me think. Do I really need to? I can just do, yeah, since I'm going to pass it merge data, I can just literally open it here. So with open JSON file name in the write mode, as you can call it temp log. Okay, with open the JSON file name in write mode as temp log, the JSON library that we are using, JSON dot. Uh, will it show? No, it doesn't. So there is a dump. Okay, I know, very funny name. So there is a dump, which kind of is a way to write to a JSON file. So we are going to do a JSON.dump, pass it the merged data. We're also going to pass it the JSON uh, temp log. Okay. And we're also going to define the indent, like the spacing. Indent equals to 2. What spacing? Once the file gets created, then we can have a look. So write to JSON, give it the merged data and the JSON file name. We're opening the JSON file name in write mode and writing to it. I think that's good. Let's go to our main.py. And what are the changes that we are going to make so that it starts writing? So we have write to CSV for year in years, and hmm, below it, no. Where should I create it? Actually, I can do one thing. Hmm. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, let's do one change here. So let's create a all events data, which is going to be a empty list. That's what we are going to do. Let's create a all events data, which is going to be an empty list. We are already looping over the years and we are writing to the CSV. But just before the writing happens, let's do this. Let's do a for event in in what? In new events data. For event, for each event kind of in new events data, please do one more thing. Please do a all events data dot append event. Yep, I think that should be good. So for all for event in new events data, please also do one more thing, which is before you write to I mean we can do it anywhere. Yeah, we can actually do it here. uh yeah, yeah. So after that's done, now go over to the new events data that was created. For each event, add it to the bigger list, right? And once that bigger list has all the data, so we will come out of this for loop for sure. Okay, because yeah, that's where the merging is happening. We are going to come out of this for loop as well. Yeah, this for loop being like the for all for year and years. Okay, we are going to come out of that. Yeah, when I say come out, I'm going to add something new underscore merged underscore uh, basin underscore file name. Too big of a variable to hold one value, which is called as merged MLH events dot json, but yeah, whatever. Like, let's create it. So when I say outside, I mean once you close it, these two should be in the same line in a way. And now let's call our function. We did not import our function yet, so let's do from write to json import json. Yeah, now let's call our function write to JSON. It takes the merged data, right? Like basically my all events data is what I'm going to pass it. All events data. It takes the file name, so which is called as new merged JSON file name. And I think that should be good. Let me format it. Let me open this up. So yeah, feels like the code should work. Yeah, I'm also going to reduce the time here to 2 seconds just for the time being. And now let's try it. It is going to recreate the whole CSV scenario. I think I'll be fine with that. So let's see. Let's hope that this works. I have created the CSV properly, I think. Then it goes to write CSV. Yeah, this is like more of a mental uh, recreation of how it's going to happen. Okay, and it did happen. Seems like it. Let's open this. Okay, it has data. It has lots of data. This is 2020 start date. Okay, that's good. Let's go all the way to the bottom. 2023. Nice. I like it. Hack battle React versus Angular. Let's kind of confirm that. So hackathons, 2024 hackathons, hack battle React versus Angular, which means it works. Woohoo! And and the amount of data that we have received. Oh my god. But yeah, it's success. Thank you so much to myself. uh yeah, I'm glad you all share the same excitement as me. So yep, it works. We have been able to create the JSON. You might all be wondering, why am I so reluctant, like, not very confident about this? Because I'm really writing this on the fly right now. uh, Okie doke. So main.py, we imported our JSON. We created a new all events data where we merged everything together, and then we wrote it to write.json. Uh, Again, we can make changes here, of course, with respect to how the data should be in a way. Now this is, as you can see, it's an array of multiple objects. Now I will call it objects because that's what it's called, and the indentation of 2 is here. uh, yep, that works. Now I don't really like it right now. Why is that? uh, I do want two more fields here. Okay, what are the two fields? Number one is an ID field. Okay, right now, if you look at this, okay, look at the whole data that we got. Okay, just take a guess. How much data do we have? Is it 6,995 events? I don't think so. Okay, 6,995 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe. 6,995 divided by 9, maybe that many events. Is it perfectly divisible? I'm not sure. That's 777.22222. I don't think we have that many events, so we also need to reduce some more. But yeah, I don't want to do that mathematical calculation. I really want to just look at it and have the ID. Okay, so let's do that. Let's add a ID field on the fly. uh, Also, second thing is the year. Okay, the year of this particular event. Now we can see the year here as 2023. Okay, that's when it kind of ends. It's happening in this year, which is fine. But where is this data coming from? Is it coming from the MLH Events 2023 CSV? Sorry, excuse me. Or is it coming from MLH Events 2024 CSV? How do we know that? Like, after looking, of course we know, but when we are not looking at it, I think I would also ideally want to another field calling as year, which kind of ensures that I know, oh, this came from the mlh.io/season/2024 website, or it came from 2021 website or 2022 website. So I hope you are getting the idea and my reasoning of why we want to add those two fields. Okay, so let's do that. How much time do I have left? Okay, 15. Yeah, perfect. I think we will be able to do it. So, step one, to add the ID field, we are also going to add the ID field in. Okay, let me just close this. Let's where should we start with? Let's start from bottom up. So the bottom being like in scrape events. Okay, that's the first place where we can think of adding the ID. But scrape events is more focused on what? It is focused on getting the data. And if it is focused on getting the data, then we are sure there's no ID field in the data. Okay, otherwise we would have got it. So there's no ID field that exists in the data, which means that we cannot touch scrape data, scrape events.py. Like, we don't want to pollute it with some extra variables that are not coming from the website. Okay, let's keep it succinct and clean. So which means the next place to check for it is write to CSV. Okay, in our write to CSV, what are we doing? We are opening the file. Okay, events, like We are writing to events data. We are opening the file here. We are writing to it. So in the same place, we can actually do one more thing. We can very simply, I feel, we can add, hmm, yeah, I think so. Yes, very simply, we can add a year field on this particular code. We can also add a ID field in this scrape events. Sorry, right to CSV. What am I saying? In the right to CSV, yes, we can add two more rows. So let's do that. Let's add a field. Let's. Why did I hit enter? Okay, whatever. Uh, ID, comma. So that's the one field that we are adding. And another field that we are adding is year. Not all caps, year. Okay. So these are the two fields that we are adding on the right row in the headers, at least in the headers first. Now for adding the event like in here in the right row. So if you are familiar with Python, you know what I'm going to do. But if you're not, there is a very nice function which is called as enumerate. Okay. And in enumerate, what you could do is you can, let's say in the for loop itself, you can do for idx comma event, and then instead of just events data, you tell it enumerate. Enumerate over events data. So enumerate over events data, which what does enumerate do? You can think of enumerate as again, looping over this thing in nice way, but at the same time, I'm also going to tell it that hey, in the first below the first header, add idx, and idx, excuse me, sorry, and idx is coming because of this enumerate function. So enumerate takes the first event, it assigns its id as like the index. Second event, index increments automatically. Third event, index increments automatically. Fourth event, index increments automatically. So that is how it is working. And we will, again, the placement is very important. So if your ID field is first, IDX will be here. If your ID field is last, IDX will go there. Okay, placement is very important. And the last field is year. Now I have created it here as event of year, which says that, oh, this data is going to come in the dictionary and you have to place it here, but it's not coming in the dictionary yet. So we need to manipulate it at some more places. But okay, that's the first part. Now what's the second part? As I said, we need to manipulate it at some places. Where is that someplace? Well, that someplace is very simply going to be here in our main function. So we have new events data, and let's create a count function. Okay, new events uh, data count. What is the count going to do? It's going to take the length of events data, like how big is the new events data, what's the size or what's the number of rows in the new events data. Now the next step, if you remember here, yep, so now we need to actually take this below. What am I doing? I'll like we will figure it out together. Don't worry. So now we have created actually a for loop where we are saying for event in new events data, we are already appending to this all events data, which is the bigger array. But while you're doing that, just do one more thing. Please add the event of year equals to the year. Yep. So please add the event of year, like event of year being like that key, and replace the value to be a year, which is coming from here. Year, here. Okay, just ignore. Yep. So that I think ideally should work. Now it is giving me the error unexpected indent. Why is that? So if I do this, I do this, I hit here this, and I go back, and yeah, unexpected, of course, because it's supposed to be in the same line. Now, what is happening with this new events data count? Hmm. Okay, I think there's going to be a problem, which for which I think this would be a solution. So right now we are adding the year here and then appending it, and then we are creating this, and in the write to CSV file, in the write to CSV file, do we need to change that? I am not sure. I don't think so. Just the append should be enough. Yeah, because I don't want to add the year, or do I want to add the year? I'm confused here a bit. So let's see. Let's first run this, and then let's see what comes out of this. And for the time being, I'm going to reduce this to just one, which is 2021. I'm going to delete everything else. Why? Because less data means we can check it more carefully. Yeah, perfect. Now let's run this. And oops, what happened? Okay, it's running. Write to CSV success. Did it created a year column, which is good, and it added the 2021 here, which is again nice, and it's there till end. And here I have the year coming in, which is nice. Okay, so we actually resolved the year problem. What happened to the IDX? Why is it not here? Any guesses? Anyone? So we were able to resolve the year problem. And the way we resolved it was we added it here, we added it here. We also wrote this enumerate to, oh, take the index here. Why was it not written? Is it in this? Oh, yes, it is there. In the ID field, it does exist. Okay. So what's the problem? Why is it not in the JSON? Would anyone like to take a guess? Although it starts from zero, I think I want to start it from one. Any guesses, anyone? I mean, not hard and fast. Okay, no worries. Uh, One of the reasons that I can think of is, of course, the problem with our code. Let's shut this. Let's shut this. Here we are telling it that please append the year. Yes, it's not being appended, or it's not being added in this part. Okay. So I really need to also explicitly pick out the ID and give it the value. Now, what value should I give it? That's the next question. What should be the value? Now, ideally, I could actually do one thing, that is, I can again do a enumerate. I can call the IDX here, okay, and the way it wrote to MLH event. So when we did a enumerate, it called the ID field. It started from 0 and it went all the way to 226. So we know that there were 227 events, and we can do the same thing here. Okay, we can do a idx and this, and then we can do enumerate of new events data and fill it. The problem is that, okay, so for the first file, or let's actually watch the problem. So if I change this to 2022, yeah, and when we have two files, so in that case, what's going to happen? It's going to, okay, it's going to actually start from zero for both the files. Write to CSV success for 2021, and now it created 2022, and yep, it starts from zero, and then there's one, then there's two, three. So for every file, it's going to start from zero, and it's going to go all the way to whatever, like, yeah, the last number, okay which is okay per CSV file, but it's not okay for the JSON, right? Because a JSON, in the JSON, will have same ID being repeated twice when we, merge it. So to resolve that problem, I'm going to create a local variable actually. Okay, so let's do that. So here, under all events data, I can call a new variable. Let's call it total idx, and it starts from one. Okay, that's very like one thing that it starts from one. Okay, let's move on to the next. Also, let me check the time. Okay, 4 minutes. I don't think we'll be able to complete it, but let's try. So event yeah, event of id. So take that key value pair and change that to total idx. That's the first thing. So pass the value of total idx here, but we don't want to pass it 1 1 1 1 1 every time, right? So what's the next step? So the next step is going to be that we should increase or increment the idx value by 1, right? So everyone got an idea? Like, we created a local variable which starts from 1, then we are picking up the key id from the write to CSV which we have created. We are assigning it the value of total idx in the new, like when we loop over the new events data, and then we are adding it to all events data. Now let's run this. Okay, so that ran, and that got, like, for the CSV at least, it starts from 0, goes up to some number. Let's check our merged MLH events data. So the first one, it actually starts from ID1, then we have ID2, and how many events totally happened? 456. Okay, 456 events. So now we are getting somewhere, right? So that means, where does this end? 2021, and this 2022 start? Yep. So the numbers are incrementing properly, which is what we wanted, kind of, right? 2025 is like in 2021, not 2025, in 2021, 225 is the event ID, last event ID, and in 20, what am I saying? Sorry. Uh, 2021, the last event ID is 227, and in 2022, it starts from 228. Tongue twisters. And I think that went well. Also, as far as I remember, if you do a start idx equals to 1 here in the write to CSV, and then just copy that over to this part, I think, okay, I'm not sure, but I think in that case, it is going to start from 1 instead of 0. So we can actually check 2021 is okay, apparently not, but I can totally have a look at it. uh, I can have a look at it, like how to make it start from 1. But actually that's my time right now. We still have to, like, we have merged the data, we still have to make the API. So I'll see you again in few hours, but till then, thank you so much everyone. See you later. Bye bye. Sorry for the hasty bye.